Welcome back to the Tydarium Hangar. This is Mike, and today I want to talk to you about all of these Mattel reveals for Masters of the Universe, crossing 3 different lines from Origins to Masterverse to the CGI kitty line that's growing up. We're going to talk about all of this, but the question is this showing that Mattel will support Motu past 2022, or is it saying that they're going to go out with a bang? We'll talk about this and all these reveals, my thoughts, coming up. Alright, so starting out, they had the 2000X He-Man for Origins, and this is not a 2000X. It is the Origins He-Man Buck with some paint changes, some weapon changes, but at the end of the day, this does not match the aesthetic of 2000X, has no business being in the Origins line at all. But I think it's so they can have a standard He-Man on the shelf. It's an excuse for a repaint and I guess a remold for the weapons. But I think it's a fail overall. But sadly, I'm probably going to buy it. Next we get the Origin Digitino, which is the math guy from the whole Sunman line, which it's kind of interesting that they're doing all these figures, and so we're going to get a couple of these Sunman figures, and Digitino is kind of cool, actually. If you think about it, it's interesting, the character overall, he looks good, utilizes the buck very well, so that's okay. I don't know if I'm going to get too excited about it, but I'm definitely going to pick up at least one. Next, we're getting King Randor. Now, King Randor is one of my top of the list figures for Origins, and I had a top 10, and I might link that down below, my top 10 Origins figures that we need. But he was one at the top of the list, and he looks great. Part of the problem with this figure is that the vintage one goes for stupid money. Over $100 on any vintage Motu figure is just insane. It's insane. But this figure looks good, and it's a great blend of an homage to the vintage and modern updates, and I think it's a really good job they're doing right this figure. This is one of the best reveals this week. Now, the next one here is Pighead. Obviously, we're gonna get Pighead. He's the main bad guy with Sunman, and you know, it's funny because like 2 or 3 months ago, I never heard Sunman ever, but like, I'm a casual Motu collector. These hardcore Motu collectors knew about this all along, so they're excited. And I'm glad they're getting it, and I'm going to get one just because. It's kind of a just because thing. And I think it's okay, it looks cool, but I have really, absolutely no connection to this character. But yeah, I'll still pick it up. So next up we got Space Sumo. Now the thing about the Space Sumo is the fact that it's kind of just riding on the ninja craze. And yes, it's another character from Sunman, the Sunman line. And looking at it, it's okay, it's kind of cool. But I think that a lot of these Sunman figures, especially the ones that are the one-offs like this, are gonna warm pegs if they ever make it to retail. So I'm wondering if these are gonna be made at lower quantities or what. So interesting that they're making it. It's kind of cool. And completionists like myself, sadly, are going to pick it up. But will everybody pick this up? And next we have the Origins Teela with Zor. Now, here is the funny part. That Zor doesn't look much different than a vintage one. So either they did a really good job of making it look vintage, they added 3 points of articulation that we don't see here, or this is actually a vintage one, and they're I don't know, subbing it out. It looks strange, but Teela does have the new knees, and that's the thing. We're getting the new knee Teela, and we're getting a Zor, which we need, which is Sorceress in her Eagle mode. But the thing is, this is a fan channel exclusive. I pre-ordered one, and I might want to get a second, but I like the Teela. But man, I just bought like 3 Teelas for $6 with the old knees, and now we get this one. But it's definitely better, superior and they're learning from their past mistakes. So day 2 was kind of a revelation of what's going to come in the new Masterverse line. And I gotta say, these are some good reveals. Surprising. And this is Hordak with the Filmation colors, and he looks amazing. And really, they did a great job on this. So you think about this, I actually have this in Classics, and I'm looking forward to getting this one too. This one also. So you got this different arm and a whole bunch of other accessories and stuff. You got a cape. But a lot of people think this is going to be a deluxe figure and the deluxe price, so it might very well be. So looking at it though, it does look great. Let's put them together and assembled. Just really nice. This is another one in Masterverse that is going to rival Classics. Now, I got to get them in hand, side by side, to decide if this one is better than Classics, but it could rival Classics, or even, at the least, replace it for $20 instead of $150. Next up, we got Jutsu, and I got to think about this Jutsu here. First off, it's not what I expected when they did a Jutsu. It's more real world than cartoon or toy. It doesn't quite match what I think the Classics aesthetic and all that, but the more I look at it, the more I'm like, yeah, I'm okay with it. I mean, I don't have a Jutsu from Classics, and I'm not spending $100 or $200 or I don't know. Is it $300? Who knows? I don't even care. So I will get this as my Masterverse Jutsu or my Classics Jutsu and just go on down the road. So looking at it, I'm okay with it. Now, you can strip them down, and here's the reason this picture is important. You can customize it and make it however you want to look as close to the Classics or the show or whatever. And so it looks pretty good. And it's pretty cool. Back metallized hand. So this is the CGI animated version of Skeletor in Masterverse, so made to a collector grade versus a kiddie toy. But there's also a $20 shampoo bottle kiddie toy around the same size, so confusing to the market. But if I were to pick one, I would pick this over the shampoo bottle. So yeah, I don't know. I'm torn. I'm definitely going to get one of these, but I'm not sure how many people will even care. See, I don't think the collectors, the adult collectors, are going after this line. This is really targeting the kids, and I don't even think it's winning the kids over because it is populating the toy aisles and not selling, but we'll see. So next we get Beastman, and I'm a little torn. First off, I absolutely hated the first Cancun party Beastman that they put out. It looked terrible. This seems to use the same buck, change the head, and add some gear. And with it, it's still not quite my Beastman. I like the Filmation version Beastman the most. That destroys this. But this is okay. I'm just going to label it as okay. I thought they could have done better, but it's better than what they did at first. Maybe down the road, we're getting something better. So next we're getting Catra, and I'm guessing Catra is from the Shira universe and all that, but I do not have any knowledge or any association with the Shira. But researching the Master of the Universe and a little bit of Shira here and there, I have seen some really amazing displays. The Shira figures that they made in Classics display so well. They look amazing. The female buck here is really outstanding for what you get. And so with that, I'm excited for it. I don't know how deep I'll go. I'm thinking I'll get at least 10 of these. Not this figure here, but 10 different version iterations from Shira and Catra and all these different ones down the line. But that would make a great display, an excellent looking shelf. Sadly, I don't think very many people think like me when it comes to that. On the third day of Christmas, Mattel gave to me. Look at all this good stuff. So, we're getting Mantina, which I did talk about in my top 10 list of what we need in Origins for the Origins line, and it's done right. So, evaluating the vintage Mantina, it looked like it had 4 legs, but they kind of morphed 2 legs into one so that it looked like it had 2 legs looking like 4. This is a true 4 leg, more of a modulock kind of deal, and it does have an eye gimmick and all that kind of cool stuff. So I think this is awesome. I did get, like, of course, I bought a $5 cheap one just to have one, but I don't really like the vintage molds at all. The vintage figures I think are garbage. So the modern iteration of the vintage figures are better, and this just proves it. This is so much better than that $5 piece of garbage I bought, and I am excited for this figure. Mantina is going to blow away what they did back in the 80s, and it should. We're in 2022. So we're getting a 2000X Skeletor, and here's the weird part. He doesn't look 2000X. I actually just got a bunch of 2000X figures and sealed, and this doesn't look anything like a 2000X Skeletor. So the proportions don't match, and if you don't match the proportions, you're just, I don't know, calling a pig an eagle or something. It doesn't match. This is not right. But whatever. I'll probably buy one. But it's weird because it's just a standard buck, a different head, slightly different painted armor and stuff. It's weird, and it's not 2000X. It does not really, truly resemble a 2000X figure. So next up we get Grizzler, which is an obvious figure they're going to make. See, the thing is, they've already made Grizzler. They made him with his other repaint in that $150 4-pack. That was crazy expensive. So here he is as a standard Grizzler. We all expected it. No surprises there. So good job, Mattel. And we're getting into Leech. And this guy here was another one on my top 10 list. I really expected them to make it. And they did. They delivered. They said, Mike, we won't copyright strike you for picking out what's coming up. But it has 2 different ways to display them. A bunch of different ways. But this is the old school vintage suction cup everywhere. And you got the redone head, redone hands. And I think that's a really good idea and a great approach. Now, I actually don't know much about this character. I just know I see the figure everywhere I go. So I've seen this Leech figure all the time, and I didn't really even know his name. And I knew it was a Masters Universe, but I knew we needed a better version for Origins, and now we're gonna get it. Now, next we're gonna get Snout Spout. Now, this is kind of a rarity. I don't know if he's expensive for the vintage, because I don't at all collect vintage Motu. But I know Snout Spout is a cheaper Classics version, and usually the cheapest Classics versions are the expensive vintage ones. And there's a very high level correlation there. This figure does look pretty good, and he matches the Snout Spout, and I got a Classics one because it was cheap. And it does look right. I don't know if it's going to carry on a water feature, but with the hand there, looking like it's pushing a button, I bet it does. Here he is sporting his axe and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, the fireman doing his job. So we got the Roton here. I've recently picked up a vintage Roton. Actually, discounting the fact that I thought they'd never make one for Origins. And here they did. Here's the thing. Nobody's really talking about this, but almost every Origins vehicle fits a Masterverse or Classics size figure in it, and this will probably do the same. This will be bigger than what we got in vintage, and will be a cross-compatible vehicle. It seems like something they planned from the get-go, and I expect the same with this. So a lot of people aren't talking about this. This will probably fit all of your Masterverse figures, the bigger ones, even though it's an Origins toy for, well, $33 is the new price. By the time I release it, might be $36. So getting into the 4th day of Mattel Christmas, we got the CGI version of HeMan that's coming to Masterverse. So it's a collector grade figure for $20. Well, 23. I guess 23 is the new price. And it looks like the cartoon, like the show. If you like the proportions and all that, yeah, I'll definitely get one, but I won't like it. That's I just don't really care for the designs. I bought the $10 ones. I'm keeping up with the $10 ones, even though I probably shouldn't. But getting into this one here, so Battle Armor He-Man. Now, I don't really like the route they went with this. So he does look older, and he does look way different. He's got this shoulder piece, and I don't know if you're going to be able to swap out the chest to look like he's got the different battle damage on his armor and all that kind of stuff. He's got a shield and a sword and an axe, and he's got a knife that sheathes into his lower part there. And then this is his shield on his back, so it's got a good paint job. It's a nice looking figure, but it's not what I think of Battle Armor He-Man, so move on. We got Hero. He is the hero of the game here. And so this figure is kind of cool, and I don't know all the lore behind him. And I actually think I got this guy in Classics in my deal, so maybe it's one I can compare to. He looks okay, he looks cool. I'm just not excited about it because I have zero association with him. Moving on to this one here, Shira. I'm going to go out and say I think this Shira looks better than Classics. And the only reason I can say that is because I have been seriously considering buying a Classic Shira. And I had a deal, 2 deals fall through on her for like $50 for the Classics. And I'm glad I didn't spend $50 on the Classics because this one blows Classics away. I think it's going to be better than Classics. And I think you can only say that about like 5 figures so far that are as good or better than Classics. She is definitely one of them. So I'm really impressed with the work they did on her to the face, the sculpt. The female buck works really well with her. And I think overall, they didn't overdo anything or underdo anything. And this has no visible pins in the joints. So really an amazing job. I'm very impressed. Now we get into Sunman in the Masterverse. Now, Sunman is not going to be for everybody. I am barely into it because I don't know much about it. I have no association. But I think it's cool enough to stay up with and buy one of each. And with that, I think this is way better than what we got with Origins. And looking at this, I appreciate the Sunman line 10 times more because they made it and committed to a Masterverse instead of just like a Origins repaint. And so with that, I like this figure. I like this character more. It looks great. I can get with it. So lastly, our 5th day of Christmas is giving us something that, holy cannoli, I've been asking for this since day 1 of the Revelations. Can we get Masterverse Classics back? Bring Classics back. Well, they can't. Technically, legally, this is as close as they can get to Classics. And I'm okay with it. If they really do continue this, I'm okay with it. So here we go with a He-Man made with a different chest piece, a different chest armor, slightly different sword. His everything is made to look classic, like the Filmation, sort of. It's not 100% Filmation. It is much closer. It's more toy / Filmation at the same time. The head sculpt is better than anything we've gotten in the Masterverse, and it looks good. It's got a shorter loin cloth area, and you have no visible pins, so it is almost as good as the Matty Collector Classics. Still not quite as good as Filmation. It's going to come with a sword, a shield, axe. All that looks very classic. Extra hands, and I don't know how we're going to order any of this stuff. Will any of it be exclusive except for the Tila and the Zoro, which are fan channel exclusives? I don't know if any of this is going to be exclusive. Do you have to go to that stupid Mattel Creations? That is terrible. I hate that. So I want to be able to pre-order it at 5, 6, 7 different places and just wait for it to come in. But I don't want to be there at 8 a.m. on Thursday to pre-order this. So I don't know yet, and nobody knows yet. But it looks amazing, and I'm definitely in on 3 of these. So, let me know what you think about all of these reveals. Are you in on all of it? Are you out on all of it? Are you going to pick and choose just like 3 of these? And if so, which ones? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe. And Titanium Hanger out.